I'm 31 and I've chosen to remain single at the moment, and my dad questioned me the other day. He said, "Don't you think that the older that you're getting a little too picky?" I paused. That was a valid question, and so I answered thoughtfully. I have standards, and they're not high standards. I wouldn't even call them that. They're just my standards. I don't think I'm asking for something from a man that I can't give myself. I've spent years in therapy trying to become a better person, journaling, reading books, listening to podcasts, and I expect the same of my partner, someone that is emotionally intelligent and self-aware enough to do work on themselves. I'm not asking for something I'm not giving.
Oh, really?
You know what? I gotta hand it to this chick's therapist. He was able to convince her that she needed to pay him, and in exchange, he'd do absolutely nothing for her. That is one hell of a racket. Woman, you really gotta listen to what you're saying here. You're actually telling the planet that you're thoughtful and you're introspective and you're acting like your farts don't stink, but they do. They reek of farts. Don't believe me? Well, fine. I'm not the one that's weaving a whole bunch of English gibberish just to get out of trying to answer a valid question for my own father. And this is all predicated on the idea that you have oh so much to offer, but you don't really offer anything, which is a fair deal because the only men who'd be interested in you won't be willing to offer you anything at all. It's not like that really matters anyway. I mean, when you think about it, your standards are so high that nobody will be able to fit the bill because the man that you want really doesn't exist. And frankly, even if he did exist, he's most certainly not going to want you because he'll have significantly more options, and he doesn't want to have to deal with a woman who brags about writing in a freaking journal.
I have taken so many years to get an education to build a career for myself, and I am at a disadvantage in comparison to a man. I am more of a minority than a man is. So if you start off with the upper hand, to me, there should be no excuse as to why you can at least meet me where I am financially.
That's racist!
I don't think I'm asking for something I'm not willing to give. There are so many things I can go on and on about. I don't think I'm picky. I think at the age of 31, I have gone through my trials and tribulations enough to know myself, to be confident in who I am, what I bring into someone else's life, and I just want them to be able to meet me where I am, if not better, because that way they inspire me to be better. And I don't expect a flawless person because I am not a flawless person. And that makes me happy. It's not like a defect of mine.
Aren't you lying? No. In fact, aren't you a liar? No more questions, Your Honor.
Really? The oppression card? You're seriously going to play the oppression card for the fact that you made terrible life choices when it came to men? Yeah, that makes sense. You won't take any accountability for your actions. That's why you're blaming men for the fact that you completely screwed up your life. Now, you're 31. You're bragging about how you have an education, about how you have a career, and men don't really care about that. Your education is in either communications, gender studies, or Margot Robbie. And when you put all that together, it really is unattractive for men. Now, you're trying to feign humility by saying that you are a flawed person and that makes you happy, and yet you turn it around and then say that you need a man who is less flawed than you in order for you to become a better version of yourself. But here's a question for you, sweetheart. Why is that the man's responsibility? You're saying that you put in all of this work to become a better person, so why does a man need to take over? You're claiming you're doing it yourself, and yet you expect a man to make you better. It doesn't work that way. Men have better ways to waste their time than trying to make you feel better while simultaneously trying to make the world seem worse.
I know it, your family knows it. Dogs know it.
Being single right now is absolutely terrifying. I've been on the dating apps for about 2 months now, and all of the men in the dating pool currently fall under these 3 categories, at least in the Atlanta area. I can't imagine being much different anywhere else. First, they're gonna tell you they're looking for something serious, they want a long-term relationship. That will quickly show itself that they are just wanting something casual. They will try to invite themselves over for a game night or say they want to cook for you. That is something casual. We're not stupid, especially me. I'm 34.
Woman, if you were to look up the word failure in the dictionary, you'd find a photo of your high school yearbook picture because you most certainly are. For starters, you're trying to find a man on a dating app. Now, the reason why you're stupid is because you don't listen to any self-respecting man when they tell you plainly to your face that you're not going to find a good man on a freaking dating app, especially for a woman your age. The reason why is because the self-respecting men left the dating apps years ago, and so the perverts, the creepers, the guys who are looking to cheat on their significant others, and the bots are the only ones left. And you would know this if you actually just listen to the men and use some common sense. Now, dating apps have been used for hookups, for food dates, and pretty much everything under the sun except for relationships. Modern women demand it as such. Nobody takes dating apps seriously anymore, but that's just because modern women poison that particular well, and men have better things to do with their time than get ignored on dating apps. You wanted it, you got it, sister, and you're too stupid to realize it.
Number 2, they have undiagnosed mental health issues or have unhealed trauma that they seriously need help with. I literally had a guy call me and talk to me on the phone for like several hours about his family issues, his baby mama issues. I mean, just all sorts of stuff without me inviting this conversation. And I made a joke like, I pay my therapist $150 an hour. Maybe I should be getting paid $150 an hour for this. Like, joking. He Apple paid me $150, continued to go on, and then sent me another Apple Pay for $150.
Do you accept cash?
Alright, I guess I'm failing to see what's wrong with that. In your case, you got $300 and you didn't even have to lie on your back in order for that to happen. And for the record, nobody put a particle blaster to your head and had to listen to it. You could have ended the call at any time and blocked him, but you instead decided to listen to him drone on and on and on about his personal problems, and you got a nice chunk of change for the trouble. Now, if the roles were reversed and you wanted to talk to a guy about your endless slew of problems, you would just expect him to sit there and listen to it, and not only listen, but listen intently and for free. And if he made some type of off-color remark about how he pays his therapist $150 an hour to listen to him complain, you would take offense with that and then accuse him of being emotionally unavailable because he doesn't have any sympathy towards your many, oh so many problems. But I got a secret for you, sweetheart. If you are annoyed over the guy who's talking to you about your problems, well then you are not worthy of a man who's quote-unquote emotionally available when you can't even be available emotionally yourself.
Number 3, they're gonna love bomb the shit out of you. They're gonna tell you everything you think you wanna hear and tell you all about these fun future plans you guys are gonna have before you even met. Those men just turn into controlling, abusive narcissists, so don't fall into that. It's rough out there, ladies.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
No, woman, that man is not a controlling, abusive narcissist. He was talking to you about all of these plans, and then he actually met you and realized there was no future with you, and he started to check out because you're not worth the frickin' time. But you live in this magical fairyland where you are never at fault for anything, so you must blame the man for your own shortcomings. This is also a fairyland where unicorns will poop out what you think is the key to eternal youth, even though it's just unicorn poop, but you'll rub your face in it every single time. Now, I personally find it hilarious how every single man that you've ever talked to just somehow ends up magically being a controlling, abusive narcissist. Now, you would think that you would be able to sniff this out easily, what with your genius experience and all that, but you seem to be falling for it every single time, which just leads me to believe that you keep choosing guys who aren't interested in you, so therefore, they are some of the worst people on the face of the planet. Even though I really don't think that's the case. Just because a man isn't interested in you or your used up ovaries, it doesn't make him a narcissist. It actually makes him kind of intelligent, which is something you clearly lack in spades.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
We're twins on the hunt for a joint boyfriend. We do everything together. We've always done everything together. Yeah, we're each other's like number one. So if we had separate boyfriends, then that would just make things really weird. And they would get jealous about how much time we spend together. So let's just give one man all the attention. Yeah. Today we are going on a blind date. We can't wait to see how he feels about dating us. It's a nice restaurant.
It is very nice actually.
Have you been here before?
No.
It's really nice.
Yeah, no, I see.
Hello, is this seat taken? This is April, this is my twin.
Hi.
Emotional, damn it!
Oh man, take one look at that dude's face. He was not prepared for this, nor was he actually interested in it. Now, dating is hard enough in the modern world, but then it's dropped on you that, oh no, you can't just date this one woman, you have to date her twin sister too. I mean, that just makes things needlessly complicated in a world that's complicated enough. I mean, let's think about this for a second. Like, now this guy's going to be expected to pay for 2 dinner bills, obviously. He's also going to have to go out on multiple dates. And yet, just because they're identical twins doesn't mean they have identical personalities. They're going to have their own tastes. They're going to have their own preferences. And this guy's going to have to cater to both of them. That is, if he's a simp and he actually accepts it. A self-respecting man isn't going to tolerate this. He is not going to be dating 2 people, especially when they're in the same family and they are acknowledging his existence at the same time. That's just asking for a sheer amount of trouble that's just not worth it at the end of the day. Especially when you're dealing with a pair of identical twin broads whose only personality is Instagram.
Surprise! It's nice to meet you.
What?
Oh, you're so tall.
Yeah.
I'm April, by the way.
April. Cool.
Welcome. Thank you. Finally joined the party. I know you're running late. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so you haven't guessed already. We are identical twins.
Yeah. I see.
And we are looking for a joint boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I know it's pretty intense, but that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Something for you to process, think about.
Give me a sec.
Run! My dude, whatever you do, do not. I repeat, do not agree to pay the bar tab. You have so much more to live for, my guy. Head on over to Skeeter's house, play some Tekken 2, and forget about this relentless ambush. Trust me, you're in for a good time. We got some stories. In fact, I got a Patreon supporter who's got a question about that. The Danish Viking asks, I wonder what's the most crazy, insane, and awesome party that you ever had at Skeeter's house? Now that is one hell of a question, because there's so many of them. I mean, there was that one party where we ended up recreating the Battle of Fort Ticonderoga with golf carts, or the other party where we had a flair bartending contest to the music of Guided by Voices, and I can't forget about the briefcase party where it was our job to find out who was the secret KGB agent and to take him out with a Nerf blaster before he had a chance to sabotage our plans to legalize tomato in Russia. But I think the craziest one to date, hands down, has to be the Gathering of the Rogues. There were 2 requirements to get into this party. You had to have some sort of a motorcycle or ATV, and you had to wear a smoking jacket. Classy and comfortable, with just the right amount of badass. Now, nobody knows how the word got out, but the night of this shindig, Skeeter's front gate was flocked by militant feminists, modern women over the age of 30, and strangely enough, 5 or 6 Nancy Pelosi cosplayers. We weren't too worried though. The gates were reinforced with carbonite and there was always this legion of lightning-spewing crocodiles between us and them, but that didn't stop these broads from uniting in their insane power to shriek at a decibel level that was louder than your typical jet-powered motorcycle. But since Skeeter's walls were soundproofed, it really didn't bother us too much. Now these broads grew furious with us for not being furious with them, so they did the only thing a raging modern woman could do. They grabbed their overpriced designer Bluetooth speakers and started blasting Cyndi Lauper while launching fireworks at us as if this was the summer of love. And they were thinking this was finally going to spark some kind of a misogynistic reaction, and spark one it did, but not in the way they intended. Skeeter knew this was inevitably going to happen, and he was ready with Operation Spectre Falcon. Now, thanks to a minor bank error, Skeeter ended up in a possession of about 23,000 Roman candles. And there's only so many of them you can launch on a day-to-day basis, so he came up with all sorts of uses for them. He utilized them on his pontoon boat, his collection of really cool drones, not to mention his fleet of Roman candle-equipped RC cars. But this called for something a little bit more extreme. Skeeter rigged up his roof to be the ultimate Roman candle defense point. So he grabbed a couple of hundred of these things and headed up to his roof. But before the defensive could commence, he had a little something extra in mind for these disrespectful broads. I helped him haul up his speakers and then set them up, and he went down to his record player and blasted Ride of the Valkyries as the opening notes pierced the night. We got our Zippo lighters at the ready and prepared for battle. Those lifeless chickens had no idea what was coming to them as their shrill voices awaited in silence until the massive volley of Roman candle fireballs hurled toward them in an endless barrage. We switched out the candles with such lightning efficiency, which is weird because we didn't even practice. It was a spur of the moment kind of thing. but we watched with uproarious laughter as we launched the fireworks at the feminists, an endless stream of chemically treated powder charges that exploded in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Now, the feminists, to their credit, did try to rally up a counterattack, but we all know that a modern feminist is as organized as she is appealing on the dating market. They were toast in more ways than one, and the battle finally ended and the feminists dispersed to whine in their cars on their TikTok channels, and we went back to our evening, which ended with trampling football. Content in the knowledge that all you need to fight a gaggle of politically motivated, empty-headed broads is with some good old-fashioned elbow grease, badass classical music, and some brotherhood. Thanks for asking this question, man. It's never really occurred to me to share some stories about what's been going on when Skeeter throws a shindig, so special thanks to the Danish Viking for the question. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to create this for you. And of course, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have the fine members of the Bounty Board with their continued support as I make content for you guys day in and day out. It is absolutely wonderful to be seeing this support. Thank you once again. All hail! And if you're interested in asking me a question, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where I have a specialized tier where you can ask me anything about the lock first, and I'll create you a segment just like this one. I'll leave the link in the pinned comment down below. And you can always support the channel by liking this video, sharing, leaving comments, and if you're enjoying content like this, then I hope I earned your subscription today. So let's get back to the cringe, shall we?
When you're starting to fall for a man, when you're catching the feels, when you're having a good time, and you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know. This is exactly what I told my client who recently told me she was catching feels, and I helped her ground into this because I was like, look, when it comes to dating, you have to remember that it's always for your own growth. So you can lean in, step fully in, be in it for your own growth, because you're not in it for the outcome. Because if you're in it for the outcome, you're in it for disappointment if it doesn't go your way. But the thing is that you will always grow. So you can never lose. So when you're in it for the growth, you detach.
Really?
Well, that just sounds like a massive list of impossibilities. I mean, for starters, modern women date because they want to get married. Well, they want to get married now because they wasted their lives not getting married and not pursuing good men. So now they are obsessed with the idea of finding the good man, and they are doubling down on every single one of their standards. Now, you're coming in and saying that a woman needs to date for growth, which is actually kind of a terrible idea. I mean, why isn't a woman growing on her own through her own experiences? Why does she need to drag an innocent man into all of this? Shouldn't this be something you should be doing on your own? I mean, that's what you expect of men. You expect a man to come into a relationship fully financially prepared, with all of his baggage taken care of, and to be physically and mentally stable enough to deal with you and your bullcrap. So why is it okay for the woman to get a pass? Oh wait, that's right, I forgot. You're a perpetual victim. So it's the man's job to help you grow while you ignore him through detaching. Yeah, that's a great plan there, sweetheart.
You detach from the outcome. It's no longer about, am I going to get this man to ask me to marry him? No. You're in it for your own growth. So you are always going to be conscious of who you are being and what you are choosing. And of course, you do want to be asking this man, where do you see us going? You want to be sharing your vision. You want to see, can he show up and be available for your vision that you have for your life? Is he just the cherry on top of your life? Because honey, you are the cake. You are the cake. Your life should be so damn delicious without that man. He's just the cherry on top.
You might be screaming, no, no, no. All they hear is, who wants cake? Let me tell you something, they all do. They all want cake.
Woman, if you're a cake, you're one of those crappy store-bought cakes that's on clearance because it's grown too stale. But you still have the power to clog up a self-respecting man's arteries just like anything else, so I guess it is kind of befitting in a way. This detachment formula that you're trying to preach just makes women more insufferable because it makes them believe they're more important than they actually are. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have some confidence and you shouldn't be enjoying life. Far from it. You absolutely should be. But that's not what we're talking about here. You're trying to make yourself seem like you're this big golden grand prize and that any man should be honored to have you. But why should he? Yeah, great, you got friends and you got stuff you like to do. Welcome to being a human, sweetheart. That doesn't make you anything special. The only thing this detachment crap actually proves is that you are not willing to do a thing unless that man is willing to move heaven and earth just to prove himself worthy to you, and you're not going to do a thing. Which really doesn't make any sense, because a man needs to know that he's getting something out of it for his time and his energy, which you're clearly not willing to do.
And yes, then when you get into a relationship, that's when the real work starts together, because you will be face to face with your lovely mirror and the growth continues. So you want to make sure from the get-go that this man is adding to your life, that he's not causing stress from the beginning. This is what I want you to remember. When you're catching feels, always come back to, I'm in this for the growth. Ground yourself into that this is not a waste of your time. This is for your own growth, that you get to show up and practice being your best version of yourself, asking for your wants, needs, and desires, because if he's going to run away from those, if he's going to push against that, he is not the man for you.
Great plan.
Thank you.
He likes your plan, Chief.
Hold up, just a second there, sweetheart. You're saying that once you get into the relationship, that's when the real work starts and the guy can take over on fixing you because you're too lazy to do it yourself. Aren't you supposed to be doing that work beforehand? Why is it that the guy needs to take responsibility for that? That makes no sense at all, nor is it fair. Now, you're looking at this guy and thinking, how can he make your life easier? But you're forgetting one small detail. That guy is looking at you and asking the same question, and his question takes priority over yours. And the reason why it takes priority is because he is the gatekeeper to the relationship. It doesn't matter what you want. If he's not on the same page, he's gonna kick you to the curb. And if you're leading off by saying that what he can provide for you is an endless amount of work for your emotional problems, well, then you have no business dating in the first place. And if you're leading off by saying that this man needs to do more work once he gets into a relationship with you, well, then you better be ready for disappointment, sweetheart, because that man works hard enough without having to deal with your crap.
So you get to practice showing up as your fullest authentic self, and you get to see who is he in response to that, because this is for your own growth. So if he chooses to walk away, excellent, because now you are going to be even more aligned for the next man. You can never lose when you're in it for the growth, because even if you date this man for 3 months or 6 months and it continues to be for growth, you will grow so much that even if it doesn't work out after whatever amount of months or even a year or whatever, you are that much closer to the next man who you are meant to be with. It is never a waste of time when you're in it for your own growth.
Remember, your biological clock is ticking.
Woman, time and time again, it's been proven that the numbers game is a massive fallacy. The more men that you date, the more broken that you become. That is why this will never work. You're under this idea that this magical man is out there just waiting for you, and all you need to do is date Chad, Tyrone, Raphael, Chang, Wang, Takeda, and Murphy, and all of a sudden everything will just fall into place, and that man can fix you because you're incapable of fixing yourself. Let's go ahead and do something that you'll never do, and that's take a look at this from the man's perspective. He's having a cup of coffee with you, and he's inevitably going to find out about your list of failed relationships, to which you have far too many. We all know you're going to do it. It's impossible for you to not talk about them. All he's going to see is a massive bag of failure, and he's going to get out of there before he becomes collateral damage in the massive explosion that is your personal life. And then you're going to go home and gorge yourself on some discounted cake, because at the end of the day, you have done very little work on yourself, and it's all you have left to hope for. And that's going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.